I think what will happen is, have you watched this show Walking Dead? It's basically like zombies are not the problem. It's the change in the humans that becomes the problem, right? So I think our reward systems and our dopamine hits will change so much that it's us who will become the problem adapting to the AI, I think.
Well, I'll say it is spooky. I've obviously, like probably a lot of you, I've played with Chat GPT. It's really impressive. And Ivan, you put your chat answer as a question. So I'm going to go ahead and dismiss that. But thank you for your good intentions. And it shows somebody found the question button. So let's go ahead and roll forward because we want to stay on time. So maybe I'll take this. Here's our agenda for today. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to manage up. Monica's going to talk a little bit, then extending that, building on it, on managing up, down, and across, because her expertise that she's bringing today is on difficult conversations. And managing up is just one kind of difficult conversation. There's lots of them. Performance reviews, that's managing down. Negotiations, managing across. So she'll extend what I'm saying and give you some advice on how to do it. Whereas I'm going to more talk about the why and the reasoning, as well as a little on how. She's going to share a couple point of view to make conversations less terrifying, and then some tools, and of course our courses, and then we'll spend a lot of our time on Q&A as we talked about. Go ahead.
Okay.
So this is my introduction. Whoops, that's all right. This is my introduction. I want to talk about two things real quick. My bio is on here. I'm not going to go through it. Most of you, many of you know me from there. You can find me on LinkedIn as Ethan Evans, if you don't know me. But here's why you should manage up. And then I'm going to get into more detail. But the key is some people have resistance to the idea of actively managing up to their boss or superiors on one of two lines of thought. They either think this is sleazy, it's manipulative, only they've seen other people behave badly and try to curry favor, and they equate any attempt to manage their relationship with their superiors to these bad behaviors of manipulation, currying favor, misbehaving. And that just isn't true. The way I would put it is, you have many key relationships in your life. You have your coworkers. If you're a manager, you have your reports, you have peers or collaborators, and you have your significant other. You invest in all of those, and you think about how to make those relationships good, yet not to be manipulative in them, hopefully. Same thing with your boss. It's having a great relationship with your boss is something you are free to invest in and is appropriate. Second, some people have resistance to this because they believe, well, I do great work. My work should speak for itself. If I have to do anything to market it or position it, that really isn't what I should have to do. And they get upset and they pull back from a good relationship because they feel that their boss should be noticing them based on what they do, not what they say or how they interact. And I would just say, your boss is busy, and that's a hopeless idealism. So the payoff is the quality of your relationship with your manager colors everything. And by colors, I mean simply, if you have a positive relationship with your boss, and frankly, they like you, when you screw up, they're going to be more forgiving. And if they're also going to think of you more often when it comes to giving you benefits. And this is human nature. Some of you will again hear, oh yeah, bosses have favorites. They play favorites and they're biased. Well, all of us are. If you think about somebody in your life that you like, and how you think about them when they have an unfortunate incident, you usually think, wow, I wonder what went wrong in that case. Whereas if you think about someone you don't really like, even when they do something pretty good or smart, you may often think, I wonder how they got lucky and did that right. The history of our relationship influences our current evaluation. So having good relationship is beneficial. Can you take us to the next slide? So I promised Q&A. I don't want to spend too much time, but I have 2 slides on this general area that I think are worth sharing. So I already started talking about politics and ethics. And I've covered the question, is managing up unethical or manipulative? Specifically, it can be, but it does not need to be. It depends on you. And that's really goes to your motive. Is your core motive some sort of personal gain, or is it mutual success? Now, look, when we work with our bosses, all of us are hoping for some personal gain. We're hoping for a raise, a promotion, a better opportunity. That's normal, and that doesn't cross over into unethical. It's when that's all you're thinking about. I believe it's much more powerful to make an ally of your leaders and really look at how do I help them, and they will help me in return. That's how humanity works. We help each other. So, continuing this thought, are you positioning something? Are you, when we talk to managers, we all position things. We all, quite naturally, our own biases lead us to show ourselves in a better light. But there is a difference between positioning, the talking about what went well, maybe more enthusiastically than what's not going well, versus lying. A couple example types of lying people get into to avoid, and if you are a manager, to resist in your reports: sandbagging. A lot of you are going to be from the tech industry. Sandbagging is, of course, where you're asked for an estimate and you add a good amount of padding because you don't want to work too hard, or because you want to make sure you're covered. This leans a lot more towards lying. And you will remember, tempting to think the manager will never catch on. We're not all morons. And so eventually we will catch on to the pattern. And that will damage the relationship. Similarly, withholding information. It can be, information is power. And some people will be like, they may know something and withhold it from a senior peer or someone else because they want leverage, or because they don't want to be called on, what you don't see, you can't ask me about. Continuing this thought of what is ethical and what is not, a lot of people naturally seek face time with their bosses. They want to spend time around the halls of power, whatever that is. What is your purpose? Do you have a purpose for spending time with your manager, or are you just trying to manipulate? From a purpose viewpoint, if you want to spend more time with your manager, I gave more time to my direct reports and my skip levels who brought me interesting things to talk about. So people who brought me a proposal or a hard question or a new update, as opposed to people who just said, hey, Ethan, would you like to have coffee? No, actually, I wouldn't. Even though I like coffee, I'm very busy. I'll get my own coffee. I only want to talk to you if you have something valuable to our business. And it's not because I don't like people, it's because I'm very, very busy. Rounding out this list, there's a word, some of you may know it, sycophant. Sycophant is somebody who praises and kisses up to the boss in order to try and get favor. Those are great ideas, Ethan. Wow, what a great class. You're amazing. That's not attractive. Even though I like praise, I like it to be legitimate. And again, bosses catch on. The last question that's a little harder: when is it slacking and when is it work-life balance? So if a manager is asking you to do more or asking you to do something faster and you're pushing back, there are, again, 2 motives. I run into people, sadly, who simply don't wish to work. They wish to find a way to do the least work possible and still collect their paycheck. You may have heard of quiet quitting. I personally believe true quiet quitting is unethical. Setting boundaries to maintain your work-life balance is very ethical. And in the full version of this class, I talk more about how to do that. We can also address some of it in Q&A if we get there. Bottom line summary on this topic quickly: it's your conduct, so you have a choice of how to go about it. speaking as a manager and as an executive, I would say, build an ethical, open, collaborative relationship with me, and I will bend over backwards to support you. Good bosses will do that. Now, bad bosses sometimes don't do that. Sometimes they do play favorites. They do lots of things. That leads us to our next, and for me, final slide. Let's turn this around. Some of you may be in leadership positions today, probably a lot of you. Many of you probably want to get into leadership positions tomorrow. Even if you're not in a true managerial position, you can help people understand how to manage up to you. I often taught the people under me, how can they relate to me in a way that will work well for them and for me? What do I need for us to have a successful relationship? So for example, some of you, I'm sure, are from Amazon. Amazon has a culture of deep auditing. Managers are expected to, in terms of the leadership principles, dive deep and be familiar with the details. If I'm doing that, some of my reports can feel micromanaged or distrusted. Ethan, why are you so deep in my stuff? You're asking all these questions, you're asking for all this data and proof. Why don't you trust me? And I would teach them up front, look, remember our leadership principles. I'm, for better or for worse, paid to be familiar with the details. So we have two choices. I can come ask you for details, or you can learn to volunteer them. But either way, I'm going to need them. And so if you don't mind me asking, I'll come ask. Even better, if you keep me very well informed, I won't bother you. That's an example of publishing your preferences. Generalizing this, some of you may know the term psychological safety. Psychological safety basically means that you feel safe enough to be your own self, that you don't have to manage your behavior to avoid a negative reaction. It's a simple definition. As a leader, as a manager, even as a peer, if people are always afraid that you're going to go off like a bomb, or that you're going to judge them harshly or punish them or yell at them or any other sort of negative behavior, they will start massaging how they interact with you. And that will lead to less and less accurate information and can lead all the way to dishonesty. My best call is to say anything I think will get me away from you without an explosion. And so bosses sometimes create their own problems if they're too scary, because people will change how they interact with them, even to the point of being dishonest when they otherwise wouldn't. Same thing, avoid favoritism. I'm coaching a leader, and they have the challenge that they like some of their team members more than others. The problem is this is visible to everyone. And even though they're not doing it to try to play favorites, obviously the people who are on the outside of that feel very bad. And so as a leader, it is important to avoid favoritism, even the appearance of it, if you can. Interestingly, that is distinct from top performance. One of the people who reviewed these slides for me commented and said, you know, I may be spending more time with that person. It's because they're delivering a lot. If that's true, as a leader or as a peer, you have to make that super visible, that I spend time with people who are delivering high value projects. If you want more of my time, here's a way you can deliver more value. And that's okay. Some people will still call that favoritism. You may have to live with that, but that's the nuance. The last 3 points are all related. Be very clear as a leader or as a peer about your ethics. If you gossip, people will assume you like gossip, even that you're looking for it. If you manipulate others, they'll assume that you want to do it. Be clear about your ethics and reject poor behavior, and you'll get less of it. At the same time, if you are in a leadership position, I would say you need to expect some people to try to manipulate you. To that point, when I was posting about this on LinkedIn, I got some very long messages, even from some people I know, some friends who said, look, there's always a power dynamic. It's always about manipulation. Basically, I'm going to tell you whatever I think helps me. I have to do that to survive. You will have people who come to you and that's their mindset. You've got to be aware of it and try to resist it, because if you allow people to manipulate you or you react well to that, people do what works. They'll do more of it. So with that, this is like a quick view of managing up in a couple of the challenges. I have a 2-hour course I'm completing now. It'll be done and published on the 24th. It's available for pre-registration. I think the link was just posted where you can find it. If you're interested in that, fantastic. I'm going to give 2 full hours of deep detail about how you manage up well across many different circumstances, answering questions like, what do I do if I'm a remote leader? How do I make best use of my one-on-one? All sorts of circumstances. I also, many of you know, have a past course on how to become an executive, how to break through to an executive. That's also in this link. I'm going to turn it over and we're going to continue with the topic of having hard conversations.
Okay. Hey, everyone. So people who don't know me, I'm Monica. You can see my bio here. I've been a coach since 2 years, and I have had more than 100 hours in coaching people on difficult conversations. I trained in a lot of transformational techniques, and I'm a geek about nature of mind and how we humans tend to go into like a default way of operating, and what are other powerful ways of showing up. So, but who I really am is I appear polished, confident, and bold on the outside, but I'm a nervous wreck and an imposter on the inside. I was a victim of my circumstances. I was arrogant. Like, these are still like edges I have sometimes, but I'm embodying leadership, joy, and being an eye of the storm more than before. So basically, like, whatever is going on around me, I'm the pole that stands and who is calm. So that's the kind of clearing, if you will, that I'm creating for myself. So tell me in the chat below, what is the one area you need to change for better executive presence? What do you think it is for you? Anyone?
Yeah, just drop it in the chat.
Confidence. Okay. What else? Avoiding process in my answers, calm and structured in stressful situations, like the eye of the storm, like I said, stronger communication, objection handling. Okay. Exuding calm and control, conflict management, making decisions. Okay, better communication. So the common theme I'm seeing here is being more structured and being confident and communicating clearly. I thought all of these things as well is what would get me that presence and that, the charisma that people talk about. But there is an even powerful way of thinking about this. So I'll tell you a quick story. There was a moment when I was furious at my coach. I have a coach, and something happened. I was furious at him. I went to him and I was all like nervous and, oh my God, how do I tell this? Or should I just like not tell and then, look for a different coach or whoever, or like try to avoid this situation? But then I just took up the courage and told him, hey, I'm really angry at you. You were I thought you would do this thing, but you didn't. And that really set me off. That triggered me. What was going on? And the way he handled that situation was like mind-blowing to me. It not only changed how I viewed difficult conversations, but also it changed my perspective to the world. So have you ever, tell me in the chat, have you ever been in this moment with your manager, leader, or mentor where you resented something they did or expected something from them? Or have you been on the opposite side of getting this? Yes, okay, got it. Anybody else? Okay. Resented and lost my job. I know that could be really bad. Yes, very upset. So what happens when we don't address the situations in the moment? Like our natural default way is to kind of avoid them, or blame that person, and be in our head about it. Sometimes even especially at workplace where we have to appear more professional, we just stuff these things down, and they cause like mini heartbreaks, and they just remove that connection from people. So I'll tell you what my coach did. He basically asked me questions like, okay, what happened? What are you feeling? Instead of getting defensive, that I thought this, let me tell you my side of the story. Let me tell you what I felt. Like none of that, right? He asked me, what is happening? What's going on for you? How did you perceive it? And then he sat with me as I was angry, and he made me feel understood completely. And he said, is there anything else that I'm not getting? Do you feel gotten? Do you feel like I got you? Is there anything else? And then until I had nothing, he asked me questions. And then after that, he apologized, not the crappy way of saying, sorry if this hurt you, but that was not my intention. That's a total crap apology, I'm telling you. He basically said, this is where I fell short. And that was a powerful moment. Somebody owning their responsibility was powerful without bringing the other person in at all. And then instead of saying, let's do something else in future, or okay, are we all good? We are all good, right? Let's just move on to the next thing. Instead of that, he made a powerful commitment that this is where I fell short, and I commit to showing up this other way. I commit to supporting you this way. This is how he handled that. And just being on the other side of this kind of just loosened me up. Like, okay, you're telling me I'm an okay person to feel angry? Like, it's okay to have this resentment? Really? Like, really? So I was like this shocked person, and that changed completely. Before, I was avoiding conversations, and this moment changed me to get into the conversations. I always ran away at the first sign of confrontation, but the way when this was modeled to me, I was able to show up this way for other people. Like, so many other people told me, hey, I was upset with that. And that just led into so much more trust and better relationships, better connection. So tell me, what do you think was different? How this person was showing up than the usual behavior that we see? Anybody? Empathy, yes. Yes, he showed that he's not ideal, that he's human, that he can fall short, and that he owned that he took radical responsibility. Even when he felt that, like, somebody in that position would feel, no, there was like they have like very valid 10 reasons of why they did what they did. He chucked all of that outside and stayed there with me. He met me where I was. Willingness to learn, yes. So, okay. So I have 2 point of views for you about difficult emotions. We usually avoid them. We run away from them. We should push them under the carpet. But whenever you feel resentment or any frustration, agitation, those are golden opportunities for you to develop more relationship, more trust, more rapport. It is a place where you can go to your boss and say, or even your reports, and say, I'm sensing a disconnect here and this is what happened, right? But the disclaimer, of course, is that you have to process your emotions. No, this is not a chance to dump everything on that other person. So that's the first point of view I have for you. The second one, conversations are for asking for support, standing for your commitment, and coaching somebody to an empowering commitment. So when you're managing down, think of it as coaching your report to a commitment and offering them support. When you're managing up or across to your peers or your manager's peers, when you're networking, it's about asking for support again. And it's about empowering them to empower you. So, but the default way that we have is that we think that the difficult conversations are to have people be okay with how we are, like get an apology or clear your name or meet your agenda. What we usually have like such tight goal on what that conversation is supposed to be that we lose our ground. Instead, if we go open in terms of support and commitment, that's when it will be a powerful moment. It will cause powerful moments of inflection moments for you. I was trying to find the right word. So in other words, I think executive presence will be, there are many definitions, but will be enhanced so many times when your capacity to have people be exactly as they are. Like the world around me can be exactly as it is. I change how I show up. I change how I talk, how I ask for support, how I inspire commitment from people, how I inspire change from people. So what Ethan said about politics, about manipulation, these, like, it's very easy to sit on, like, be an armchair critic and say, oh, those people are playing politics. I don't want to be there. But it's like, take full responsibility and see how you can show up differently. So I've got some tools for you. First is basically have your leadership manifesto. What do you stand for? What are your principles? And then have clearing conversations with your reports, with your boss, or with any of these peers that you are kind of agitated about, like they're stealing my work or whatever that is. Set goals, set agreements, commitments, and support. And then learn these skills, make people feel heard, own your own impact. And as you are taking risks into these conversations, obviously you will make mistakes. You are human. We don't know the right words to say sometimes, and our subconscious patterns drive us. So learn how to clean up your messes, and learn how to lead with a coaching style leadership. So my course is about that. It's very practical. It only basically we'll take a conversation that you were agitated with in the past, or you're kind of not saying what you're supposed to say, that will have you show up powerfully. We'll take that and I'll help you turn that around into something that will work for your career, and that will have you really feel good about being on track. So it's 2 weeks. We have 4 live sessions. You can find more details in the link. I'll share that link quickly with you. Okay. So who is it for? It's for experienced managers. It's probably not suitable for new managers and ICs. You are having these persuasion, influence, and alignment conversations, and they're causing you stress, draining your energy, that's what it is for. We'll dig deeper into why you do what you do. You'll get nuanced feedback and coaching from me, and we'll do a role play with scenarios, and there's only 10 spots left. So if you want to dive deeper into that work now, reach out to me. And with that, this is a short webinar. I had like 20 slides, and Ethan told me, hey, we cannot cover all of this. So I really want to help people. I have a lot of stuff, but I didn't share that. Perhaps I'll email with all of those other resources. But for now, you can find the links here. Let's go into Q&A.
Sweet. So I mismanaged the Q&A tool, and by answering a question in writing, I managed to remove it from the vote queue. So it had the most votes. I'm going to take that one first, and then we'll go by the open questions that have votes. The first question was from Iga and was how to disagree with executives, ? So obviously a huge, broad question. But I was talking about managing up, and I have been an executive, and I coach executives. Part of it depends on their personality. You do need to read the person. However, the basic rules of disagreeing, number one, if at all possible, pick a good time. In other words, if the disagreement happens in a meeting, you may have to address it there, and you may not have choice over the time. But even there, you can say, could we take this offline? We seem to have a disagreement. Could we take this offline? Someone else asked the question, what do you do when you're in front of a lot of people? That same, if you can take it offline, or can we table that and discuss later? Those are good tactics if possible. If you need to disagree, there are two paths I feel you can take. One of them is you can go softer and say, I have a different perspective. Could I share that? And so you're asking permission to disagree and getting them into a discussion framework. Or I have another view. Would you be interested in that? And often even jerk executives don't want to say in front of people, no, actually, I'm not interested. It just looks bad for them. So even if they're not super interested, they may give you permission, and that giving permission makes them more open. The other way to disagree, if you have your facts straight, is to straight up say, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that, and I have the data. Or, I'm sorry, I don't think the data shows what you're saying or supports what you're saying. I'd like to share that. But that straight up disagreement better be over a set of facts. Remember, executives are human. They have a big room. Many of them feel the need to be in charge. If you're going to challenge them, different cultures have the notion of saving face. If you put an executive in a position where they feel they're going to lose face with all their direct reports, it's very difficult and takes a big executive to admit that they're wrong. So help them do that smoothly. That's why you offer offline. It's why you ask permission. It's why you say, I think I have some different information that might change that decision. You find any way to give them an outlet. Now, you might think, why do I need to do that? Why can't I just tell them they're wrong? Well, as I always say when I coach, I try to coach based in reality, not what should be. And reality is realize they are in a position where their reputation matters. And if that reputation has to be protected at the cost of you, sometimes they'll do that. Anything you would add to that?
Yeah, that was an amazing answer. And to add to that, if you have this thing that I have something that I disagree with, there is something called apple pie positioning that Shreyas Doshi wrote a post about on LinkedIn. So basically, it's like asking these questions to appear smart, credible, and position yourself to get that like kind of attention. So I would first inquire, and I used to do that. Like sometimes I do that too. So basically I would first inquire, am I trying to come across as something, or do I really have anything very valuable here? If not addressed, will um, change, will degrade things. So I would inquire into that.
So I'm going to take the next question, but I'll just point out none of the questions in the question tool currently have more than 4 votes, and there's 95 of you listening. So like 91 of you are just sitting like bumps on a log and not getting your questions answered. Feel free to do that, but you're like missing an opportunity that I would like to take. So the next question here is, I am curious to know more on why an individual doing high quality work in itself, in my words, because I said this, requires managing up, and why it's hopeless idealism. You mentioned delivering results is the currency of earned trust. Why should it fall short? Why should managing up be P0 and not P1? So first, I'm going to take the end of that question and say managing up is not necessarily P1. It's simply very important. It's also true that when I completed my executive class, level up, breaking through to executive, how to manage up better was the #1 question the people from that executive class asked me to address next. So other people certainly appear to perceive it as very important. Now, answering your question directly, time. You may be doing great work. I'm a busy person. We all wish our boss was as interested in our work as we are. But humanly, they're interested in their own work, how their boss is perceiving their work, how they're going to get their kids picked up from daycare, and how they're going to get their long weekend in Cabo. They're also interested in what work you're doing, but it's like 5th on the list. So there is room and value in you making sure important work is noticed. More than that, it's not only about the work, but there's this opportunity. Just stop screen sharing. If you stop the share and it'll take your background off. That's why you need to. Managing up isn't only about getting your work noticed. There's lots of other things, getting involved, getting input on how to grow your career, getting involved in problem solving and decision making, getting access to resources. There's lots of other things. But on this question, the reason you need to do it is #1, they're busy. And #2, your peer may be doing equally good work, but better job with PR. And you'll lose that battle. Again, reality rather than what you might like to hear. If you do great work, but I also do great work and I'm good at publicizing it, who's getting promoted? And that's just reality.
So I would add that, sorry, I got distracted. Yeah, there is this notion, like we get into this default idea that let me just work hard, put my idea into the universe, and let the universe take care of me, right? That doesn't happen. And we think that other people should notice us, but we are always in our story. Like one of my teachers and mentors calls this, we are in like the me show, and everybody is in their own shows. So don't think of managing up or across as like something you have to do. It's a new way of working. It's a relationship based work rather than when you're an IC, a siloed work. So that's the kind of mindset shift I would recommend.
Excellent. I agree with that. Next question is, when you're put on the spot by a difficult question in front of 10 to 15 leaders, how do you manage this situation, specifically when you don't know the answer? There are 2 pieces to this. I addressed a little of it earlier, but if you don't know the answer, you're going to have to say, I don't know. The best answer when you don't know is to own it. And you say, I don't know. We'll get back to you promptly. And that'll be this day or this time, or give me an hour, or the point is you own that you don't know, and then you quickly state the follow-up plan. And then if the leader keeps digging, there's nothing, like, that's a bad leader at that point. There's nothing you can do except share maybe what you do know and say, as I said, I don't have a full answer for you. Let me share what I do know now. You can try to dig out of it if a leader is just planning on, and hopefully, I talk about this a lot. If you end up with a truly worst case scenario where you have a leader who just wants to humiliate you, it's time to get a different job. Okay. And there's a whole other discussion about that. But assuming you have a somewhat reasonable leader, you're going to have to tell them you don't know. Now, a difficult question in front of 10 to 15 leaders, the bigger question you should be asking yourself is, should you have known? So you may look like a fool or uninformed in front of those 15 people this one time. A good question is, did you honestly do the preparation work? Because we all get caught out not knowing things occasionally. You have to ask how often that's happening. And if it's a lot, either you have a boss who isn't a good boss and really likes to zing people, or you need to do more prep, right? Top performers are on top of their data and their information. So I know that's a high bar, and I know it's a pain and takes a lot of work. That is kind of the expectation of top performers. And so, that you may need to do more homework.
Actually, Ethan, I would disagree.
Great.
With the homework part, because like most people, most high achievers over prepare and like trust themselves less.
Okay.
And why you get tongue tied? I have like multiple people come to me and say that I get tongue tied in a room full of people, one-on-ones, I'm great. What's happening, right? There is like a subconscious story going on, right? And those stories are like have you in these defense mechanisms where you don't speak up in those moments, though you know the answers, right? Anybody kind of had this experience where they know the answer, but their mind just went blank in that moment. But then just outside of the meeting room, they have like 50 different ways of framing that answer, right? That happens because of fear. And it's not just like imposter syndrome. It's a much deeper thing. So how much ever you prepare, how many ever words you have, it's like putting red velvet cloth over a pile of dirty laundry. So what you need to do is get to these stories and then shift them in the moment. I'll tell you my stories. My stories are like, I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough, I'm broken. Anybody watched this movie, the new Ryan Reynolds one, Spirited Away? I'm irredeemable. We all have stories like that. And this is one of we call these like core narratives. And this is one of the things that I address in my course. We get to the core narratives and try to have you practice in real time when that is showing up. So I would suggest like practice that with a friend and then ask them, practice a real situation and then ask them, or role play a previous situation and then tell them how are you perceiving me, what's happening, and then get into like what are your thoughts in that moment, and then try to address them.
And that if your problem is you really in the end realize after the fact you knew the answer and you were nervous or tongue-tied, that is one set of solutions. I was definitely taking it literally as the question is written, you don't know. Those are different circumstances, but I think your answer addresses a very common problem. I opened this when people were coming in talking about defending my master's thesis and how I was nervous. I've generally been a very confident speaker. And so I have been quizzed, kind of hostile quizzing in front of people, and I'm able to remain fluid, usually, as opposed to freeze up. That just happens to be me. Other people don't have that. And it is true that you will face circumstances where people want to quiz you, whether it's for their own reasons or whatever, or they just legitimately want information. That will happen. And so working on those narratives, I absolutely agree. That's another critical skill.
Actually, I have another thought about that, Ethan. Basically, one thing that happens is in these situations, you get tongue-tied because you view your leaders as somebody above you and you undervalue yourself. And then there is like a hierarchy that you're looking at. Like, okay, that person knows more than me, is better than me, works harder than me, or has larger control over me, or over my career, right? When that is there, you want to appear a certain way, and that kind of gets you tongue-tied. What you kind of need to shift there is basically say that, okay, I'm on a mission for my team, and I want to deliver these products or services. I'm responsible for this. And I don't know if you would agree with this, Ethan, but say that how can my leader kind of serve me, deliver my thing, like my leader is working for me rather than I work for my leader. That kind of helps sometimes.
Yeah, and good leaders value their teams. And so they want to serve and support their teams. So the next question we have is, and we won't be able to take too many more. We'll try and shorten up our answers and stay focused. For those who work in large organizations with the inevitable matrix, people have more and more dotted line leaders as opposed to single clear line manager. How can I manage multiple leaders and managers effectively to protect my teams from unnecessary work, reporting, dead-end projects, etc.? So this is the question of managing multiple stakeholders or multiple senior peers. At one level, it's the same process simply duplicated. And if you have a lot of the stakeholders, you are going to want to build positive relationships with each of them, figure out their styles, and figure out how to communicate to them. However, the bigger question here with lots of them is how can you scale that? And scale mechanisms are, of course, hold an update meeting, hold the sprint planning meeting if you're in a technical world, try to bring them together, or try to address them with a mass mechanism, put them all on a status report, put them all on an update. The idea of collecting them up is it allows you to talk to them all at once, and it ideally allows, if you want to look at the dark side, people always are looking kind of at, this is a little bit of a negatively framed question if I have this problem, you let them fight it out amongst themselves rather than putting you in the middle. So that's the negative or dark framing. But the way to handle this is to start thinking about scale. How do you bring them together so that they are not hitting you up one-on-one in the least efficient manner?
I have nothing to add. Let's go to the next question.
Okay. Well, this one is addressed to me. I will address it quickly. And then since we have limited time, you should be able to see the list, Monica. If there's one you want to take, you pick it next. This one says, Ethan, putting on your Amazon VP hat, you have a new director. What are the top 3 tactical actions your direct report can do quickly to build trust with you? Number 1 is learn your area and be on top of your stuff. So the trust buster is if I have to worry about you. So focus downward quickly and demonstrate that you have at least basic reliable control of your own area, because it's going to be hard to build trust with me if I have to worry about you or there are mistakes or problems popping out of what you own. So that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be asking me about my style, asking or noticing or opening that discussion. essentially of how can I help you? What can I do that will, what do you need from me in order to do your job better? What are you looking for? So give me a chance to give you input on what I want. That's number two. Number three is now show me you're bright. Once you're doing your job and you're trying to help me and you're trying to work with me and you've shown openness to that, take an input, ask for input, then number three is do something remarkable. Doesn't really matter what. Bring up a new idea, hire a great person, give a great course, invent new technology. I'm simply looking for what makes you above average, what makes you someone I should invest my time in. Those three things.
Okay, so one final question we'll take and we'll wrap up. What are some techniques to handle extreme stress in your personal life and not having it bleed over into your professional life?
This is a great question. Please take
Yes.
it. You go.
Okay, so whatever is having you stressed out in personal life is likely your blocker also in your professional life. So how you are in one place is how you are everywhere else. So it's a very annoying answer, I guess, but I would recommend seeking help. However you see fit. Best is to work with a powerful coach who can tell you how you are, who can reflect back to you how you're being, that your personal life is being extremely stressful to you. So your professional life is not just about just working and getting tasks done, right? You're spending so much time. And sometimes it happens that your relationships are very strained, but know that you are one person, right? And it's always, the work is always over here. If you are able to address that work, you will also be better in your career.
Okay. I think you answered that well, so I'm not going to jump in. I've been banging away quickly on a couple of the other questions, answering them in text. So if we didn't get to your questions, I've answered about some of them in text. You can go read them. So I'm finishing that in my brain. So Monica, would you post the link where people can follow up one more time? And I'll kind of close for us. Look, we appreciate all of you coming here. This is the first time we've done this, and we want to do it better. You will get a survey after this, which will ask how we can do better. Please be gentle with us in the sense of, you can think we did a great job, you can think we did a terrible job, but if you want to suggest improvements, tell us how to improve. Because we actually would love to do a series of these over time, get better at them, bring you excellent content. And it's fun for us. It's fun for us to get together, answer questions. As you can tell, Monica and I come from very different backgrounds. We not only, of course, have our careers taken different trajectories, but the way we approach problems in coaching is very different. Monica has these deep mental models. She's coached me. She has these deep mental models that go into how you think and what you feel and what's going on below the surface. Me, I'm much more like a consultant. I'm the answer guy in terms of, well, here's what I did when I was doing the line work. When I was an executive, here's what worked. Both perspectives are extremely valuable and we complement each other. So we would like to learn how to do this better. We really want your feedback. So if you see that survey on your screen when I hit the end button or in email, please give us your feedback. We want to help. Anything you want to say in closing?
That's all. And just reach out to us on LinkedIn. I also posted our email IDs, and I personally respond to everyone. And if you want to acknowledge us,
I will not make that promise. Sorry.
If you want to acknowledge for us for this session or any other questions you have, any help you need, reach out and we'll help you out. And reach out on LinkedIn. I'd be so glad to connect with any of you.
All right. And with that, everyone, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.